So I think this is our time. What's gone before, we can't really go back and change. We have to deal with what is now. And mistakes have been made over a long period of time, and the consequences are appearing. So we're seeing climate changes, biodiversity loss, soil infertility, toxicity, all of these things. And we have to ask why. And when we understand that it's because of greed and ignorance, then we have to change that. We have to be conscious and generous. So we need to share with one another. And if we share, there's plenty. If we don't share, then we have people who are accumulating billions and billions, but we have billions of poor people. So that's a recipe for tragedy, for war. And we basically know what war is over very long historical time. And war is hell. And it's there. No one actually benefits, but people pretend that they benefit by dominating others and by stealing from others and saying that now I stole it and it's mine. Well, I mean, that's not a real legal point of view. You know, you can't actually argue that. And so what we see now is all over the world, people are aware of this. Their food, their water, their air, their climate regulation, their weather regulation, their relationships with one another, their relationships with animals and plants, the future of their children. Everyone knows now that this is in grave danger. So when you're facing grave danger, you have to do something. And what I've been looking at is, after I learned that it's possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems, I decided, well, that's a responsibility, and it's also a right of everyone to do. And if we all do that, we can't even fail. So humans are that capable that if we choose to restore all degraded lands on the earth, well, wouldn't even take that long, you know. And that's the lowest cost and the highest impact we could possibly have. But if we look around now, we're in a pickle. You know, it's not so easy to get out of this mess. But we have to. So how do we do it? Well, we do it by working together, by learning that we are all relatives, that we're one family, and that we've been traveling around the world and learning and have different cultures and different cosmologies, but we're all the same people. We're all related to each other. And now we're facing these problems. Who understands this? The indigenous people understand this. They've been living with wonderful, beautiful forests and savannas and grasslands and wetlands and huge herds of wildlife. It's only this idea that no, that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to build monuments to ourselves and, you know, make these huge phalluses all over the place. It's ridiculous. So now, if we take this on, and we're seeing that people all over the world are willing to do that, if the rest of the society, if everyone starts to value this, and everyone recognizes that everyone has rights, you can't just like say, well, no, you're slaves, or you die in the edge of the desert somewhere because we stole your land a few hundred years ago. You know, what are you talking about? So once you get past these things which sort of are, you know, just evil and iniquitous, then you get to like, okay, what do? Well, we restore the soil fertility, we restore the hydrological cycle, we restore the vegetation and the biodiversity, and that is how the climate is naturally regulated. That's it.
So much of the work that we need to do is physical. We got to take care of the soil right beneath our feet. We got to collaborate with the people in our region. but we also need to share and collaborate as a species to tackle these bigger challenges. How do you see the ecosystem restoration camps combine local work with learning as a species?
Yeah, I think what we're having to do is to realize that restoration of ecological systems is the great work of our time. This is the responsibility that all who are alive now have to ensure the survival of human civilization. So when you look at the scientific data, you go, oh my goodness, it's so dangerous that if we fail to address these things, then humans could go extinct. Well, that's not normal. You know, it's not normal for us to accept that. we have to say, no, I don't accept that. We're going to do everything we possibly can to survive, to ensure that our children and future generations have a life. So in doing that, we have to understand that there is a pathway that opens up. There's a window of opportunity. So we know enough to say, okay, we have studied soil and atmospheric science and hydrology and fertility and biodiversity. We know that these are the basis of the oxygenated atmosphere, the freshwater system, and the fertile soils. And so if we bring them back, and we've also proven that we can do that in large scale. So I have documented that, I've seen it, and I've seen it work in every continent. We can do it, and we must do it. And this is the responsibility of everyone. And this is only doable by everyone because by treating people as consumers or workers, we're saying, build more, buy more, consume more, use more energy, use more everything. We don't need that at all. We need to restore ecological function because that's the true value, the true wealth on the earth. We have to share that with everyone. So if we do these things, then we're on a trajectory which will return natural evolutionary succession and regulation to the hydrological cycle, the weather, and the climate. Well, that's what we need now. So this is the great work of our time. This is the task before us. And if we choose to do this task, we know how to do it. But it requires that we drop the pretext that what has happened in the past determines what we do now. Getting out of this problem is that we learn to work together, that we forgive and we do the right thing, that we treat everyone with respect and we create an economy of love so that everybody is collaborating, we share everything, and we go to the next level. Otherwise, we face increasingly horrible outcomes.
So what should we do now? It's already happening all over the place, people acting locally to restore the Earth's life support systems. What are some key elements that, we've been talking about this, what should we set up to create the world we want to see?
Yeah, I think that obviously biodiversity, biomass, and accumulated organic matter are the keys for restoration. But we need a kind of infrastructural development which will allow this. And I've been thinking about central kitchens, creator spaces, and cultural stages. So if we do this right, we'll all have a big party. And we'll have dinner a lot, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And as long as there's food, everybody is fed, and everybody shares. But we're very careful. We create central kitchens. We negotiate and work together with people who grow food, and that we say, well, we really don't want any food that has toxic chemicals in it. We don't want any food that destroys the soil fertility or compacts the soil so that the water doesn't infiltrate and the temperatures are elevated. We know these things now. So you can't really bamboozle the people if they understand it.
No.
So creating central kitchens allows us to feed everybody with fresh, nutritious food. It allows us to store food collectively for the winter or lean times, and it allows us to process all the surplus food so that it can be eaten when the harvest is finished. So this is pretty simple stuff. Finally, creator spaces allow us to have mechanical and woodworking and craft and industrial sewing and ceramics so that we can upcycle and recycle all the stuff that's going to the trash. And that replaces an economy where you have to build all new things all the time and build more trash. So we don't need that. And at the same time, we need to have fun, and we need to have culture. We need to learn. Where did we learn any of these things? Well, we learned it from the religious texts. We learned it from literature, from great literature. It tells us what war is. It tells us what evil is. It tells us about love. And so let's share that and focus on those things, and we can have a great time, and we can do what needs to be done, and we can stop doing what doesn't need to be done. We don't have to go to work in cubicles to buy and sell plastic gewgaws that go around the world in container ships and pollute and, are wasteful and unnecessary. We can just do what needs to be done.
So this one is very close to my heart, and I totally believe that we can create these safe spaces with a shared infrastructure where everybody's welcome to have fun, have equal opportunity to contribute to adding value to such a place. And what I'm really interested in is using these safe places and the cultural stages also to connect experts to young people, old craftspeople to young people, to learn the proper trades, to share knowledge. And my question is, how many of these kind of places do you think there could be?
Millions.
That's what I'm talking about.
Billions. I mean, I don't know. We have 8 billion people, so it's definitely in the millions. But basically every community, we should probably think about how large our communities should be. And I think a lot of people we can't do that because people are bad, people are selfish. And I've been to 90 countries around the world as a journalist or an ecological researcher. People are great. A tiny minority are extremists and not so good, but the majority of people are wonderful. And so we need to gather them around and say, let's survive, let's live, let's do what needs to be done. Let's not support this let's not wait and watch the civilization collapse because it's corrupt and has false narratives and false logic at its heart, but say, this is what we believe in. We believe that all people are equal. We believe that life is beautiful on the earth, that the earth is abundant and wonderful. And the only reason that it's not is where we've raped it, where human beings have gone and extracted and abused the earth. Can we restore those places? Absolutely. Should we? Of course. Must we? If we wish to survive, we have to. So let's do it.
And we'll make ourselves happier as well doing
Let's
so.
have a good
So
time.
let's have that happen all over the place in millions of spots, all collaborating and learning from one another and doing it in different ways.
Well, I think that what we're seeing is that there has to be a transformational change in human civilization.
And today we're also showing this video to a room full of soil lovers, experts and people working in regional food systems. And I was wondering, how can places like ecosystem restoration camps, regenerative communities, safe spaces with the central kitchen, the creator space and the cultural stages, how could they add to the collective knowledge on soil fertility and vitality? And how could they add to really doing something about it.
Well, I think right now you see a lot of people who don't know what to do. And I think what's interesting, if I hadn't spent 30 years studying ecology and documenting and observing how you do restoration, I'd be pretty upset and worried about what's going on. But it helps to know that it's possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems. And it helps even more to know exactly how to do it.
And where to go and where to sign up.
Yeah. So, but once we realize that we all have a role to play, and we have to do it together, then we have to have a shared intention. We have to have a collective intelligence about this. So it's not up to an individual to decide, okay, we're all going to do this. John says go here. That's not it. Everybody has to reach the same conclusion that we want to survive. We want our children. I mean, as individuals, we're going to die. I'm 70 years old. This is not about me. This is about young people and the next generations to come for generations, if we get it right. If we don't, then, you know, it's going to be a hard period. There's a need for truth. There's a need for understanding. There's a need for collaboration and compassion. So ecosystem restoration camps, communities which are working in this way, are living laboratories which define and show, well, we try this technique to do 17-day aerobic composting, and look, it's fast and it's effective. Okay, well, that one, we should definitely go with that.
That's
you know, and oh, look, if we have a canopy, then the temperature is 10 degrees lower in hot periods, and it always stays moist and recycles water below the canopy. It's a microclimate. Oh, well, that's a keeper. You know, let's learn that.
share
you
that
know,
with everybody.
yeah. If you expose all the soils to direct solar radiation, guess what? The temperature is going to be 10 or 15 degrees higher. Well, that doesn't make giant fields of monocultures that get plowed a couple of times a year at all possible. It's insane thinking. And to imagine that that type of agriculture is more productive than just a natural system, a biodiverse system with multiple canopies of different types of edible plants, is ridiculous. So this is the type of understanding that everyone will naturally come to when they see it, and they'll notice, like, oh, this smells different. The soil smells different. There's lots of phenols from all the different biological things, and that brings us health. That's what we need. I think another thing which is important is that we have our whole lifetimes to learn. That we stop thinking that we're going for education in order to get a job. I think we need to look at what is valuable. And when you're making fertile soils and restoring vegetation and biodiversity, well, that's more valuable than anybody else. So there's a lot of people who are now refugees or homeless or unemployed. They can do that. If they do that, they're the leaders in our society. They should be honored for this. They should be rewarded for this. And they certainly shouldn't, like, be beggars or be told that they're not worthy. They should be rewarded. And if we share, because we're so productive now, we're in ridiculous, the technological advances, robotics and all this, well, what's it for? What's it for? To enrich individuals who own these companies? Or is it to make everybody be able to live? So if we have this idea that we're just gathering the material possessions and we're going to leave billions of people in abject poverty at the edges of degraded landscapes, nobody's going to make it. But if we just say, oh, we have the ability to produce so much stuff, We don't need all this stuff. Let's just produce what we need, make sure that we share with everybody, and then everybody has everything, and the earth will be as abundant as it possibly can be, and we'll all be in great shape. So if we want to travel, or we want to have transportation, we want to do whatever, everybody can do that. It's not like some can do that and the rest of the people are slaving away to make it possible for them to do that. Everybody should have a chance to do everything and to reach their full potential, to live their dreams, live the change we want to see on the earth. Equality and joy and love and abundance.